After going through this unit, the learners will able to what the project appraisal and it is evaluation in terms of social benefits, monitoring of project appraisal, types of project appraisal, problems underlying appraisal audit, delivery of project appraisal and similarity and differences from evaluation and monitoring. When an organization wants to find a solution to a particular business problem and identity, the best way for implementing their solution, it needs to plan and develop a project that might provide an effective action plan for addressing the problems through implementing the solution. In this context, project appraisal management services as the major process of analyzing and approving the project. Appraisal is the evaluation of the overall ability of the feasibility project to succeed. It is done after the feasibility study of the project has been completed. In other words, project appraisal is an overall assessment of the relevancy, feasibility and sustainability of a project prior for making the decision whether to undertake it or not. Also, it is a techniques of evaluating, analyzing the investments and effort of calculating the project's viability. The aim is to consider and compare the possible feasible project and select the best that meets the objectives. The feasibility study serves as the groundwork for appraisal. The aspects covered to feasibility study are re-examined during project appraisal. Project appraisal is a process of detailed examination of several aspects of a given project. Benefits, resources are committed. Project appraisal. Project appraisal evaluation is a systematic method of collecting, analyzing and using information to answer questions about projects, policies and programs, particularly about their effectiveness and efficiency in both the public and private sectors. Stakeholders often want to know whether the program they are funding, implementing, voting for, receiving its objective to producing the intended effect. While program evaluation first focuses about the definition, important consideration often include how much the program cost per participants, how the program could be improved, whether the program is worthwhile, whether there are better alternatives if there are unintended outcomes, and whether the program goals are appropriate and useful. Project appraisal document generally consist project introduction, objectives and scope, techniques of implementation, organization, description, output and benefits of project, project monitoring and evaluation. Evaluation of a project appraisal is done to answer following two basic questions. Will the project as designed meet the objectives and needs of country and society? How does the project complete and compares with other feasible project in terms of funds and other resources? Thus, the primary function of project appraisal is to determine a feasible project ability to achieve its objectives. The objective of the different project differs. For a private project, the objective is to profitability, but a public project objectives are socio-economic growth, employment, poverty, reduction, etc. Monitoring. Monitoring is a continuing function that uses systematic collection of data on specific indicators to provide the management and the main stakeholders of ongoing project or program to measure the extent of achievements and objectives and programs in the party. Indicators, as indicators is a quantitative or qualitative variable that allow changes produced by an intervention relative to what was planned to be measured. It provides a reasonable, simple and reliable basis for assessing achievements, change or performance. An indicator is preferably numerical and can be increased over time to solve changes. Indicators which are determined during the planning phase of a project usually have the following components: what is to be measured, what is going to change, that is participants reporting higher school attendance of girls in a village, unit of measurement to be used to describe the changes, that is percentage, pre-program status sometimes called the baseline 40% in 2007, size, magnitude and dimension of intended changes 75% in 2008, quality or standard of the change to be achieved, improvement such as the girls obtain higher grades, target population, that is girls vulnerable or trafficking from villages in southern district, time frame, that is January 2016 to January 2017. A monitoring and evaluation system is built on the key parameters of a project, the overall goal or desired change or effect. The main beneficiaries of audience that the project seeks is to benefit the hypothesis or assumptions that link the project objectives to specifically intervention or activities, the project scope and size, the extent of the participation and capacity of monitoring and evaluation, the project duration, the overall project budget. There is no single recognized industry standard for assessing the quality of a monitoring and evaluation system. However, some key criteria are summarized here. Utility. The proposed monitoring and evaluation system will serve the practical information needs of intended users. Feasibility. The method, sequence, timing and processing procedures project are realistic, prudent and cost effective. Propriety. The monitoring and evaluation activity will be conducted legally, ethically and with due regard to the welfare of those affected by the results. Accuracy. The monitoring and evaluation outputs will reveal and convey technically adequate information. The four components discussed below from the foundation upon which the monitoring and evaluation system is built. They play a critical role in monitoring and evaluation planning, answering those four corresponding questions. What does the project want to change and how? What are the specific objectives to achieve this change? What are the indicators and how will they measure this? How will this data be collected and analyzed? Type of appraisal. In project appraisal, different factors examined during feasibility study are re-examined. These aspects are technical, economic, marketing, management, environmental and financial. These different sectors are explained here. Technical appraisal, it ascertains whether the prerequisites for the successful commissioning of the project with respect to technical solutions, technical specifications, technical risk and uncertainties, local resources, availability, size, location, geology, etc. So, different technical aspect of a project is assessed and summarized in this economic appraisal. It is in terms of worth of the project to the society to assess to know social cost benefits. analyze its judgment and project from larger social point of view. In this project's contribution to self-sufficiency, employment generation and social order and assessed and summarized. The criteria for assessment are benefit cost ratio, internal rate of return, net present value, playback period, market appraisal. Marketing analysis is primarily concerned with marketing related issues, factors such as project capacity, market demand, demand forecast, estimated revenue, marketing program, market share, competitiveness and ability to satisfy the customers need to be summarized. Management appraisal. It focuses on the different managerial aspect of the project like project organization and management, institutional relationship and management, capacities in planning, organizing, staffing, leading, implementing and controlling, and also the impact of stakeholders on the project and institutional viability of the project is examined. Environmental appraisal. Environmental assessment is concerned with positive and adverse environmental impacts of the project. Initial environmental examination and environment impact assessment is carried out and re-examined. Environmental restoration measures are also suggested. Financial appraisal. It focuses on the financial feasibility of the project. In simple words, whether the project will be able to satisfy the return expectation to capital, factors such as investment outlay, the cost of capital, measures and financing, projected profitability, blank even points, cash flows, investment worth, judged in terms of various criteria of merit and risk. Sensitivity analysis and ratio analysis is also done. Problems underlying. Project appraisal is the process of assessing and questioning proposals before resources are committed. It is an essential tool for effective actions in community renewal. It is a means by which participants can choose the best project to help them achieve what they want for their community. But appraisal has been a source of confusion and difficulty projects in the past. Audits of the operation of single project budget schemes have highlighted concerns about the design and operation of project appraisal systems, that is mechanic influential system, a lack of independent objectivity, a lack of clear definition of the stages of appraisal and of responsibility for these stages, a lack of documentary evidence and carrying out the appraisal. It is not surprising that the audits or inspections are not impressed with the quality of appraisal and are specifically found with problems like individual appraisals which do not cover the necessary information or provide only a superficial analysis of the project. Particular problems in dealing with risks, options and value for money. Appraisal which are concerned with onerous or burdensome for smaller projects. Rust appraisal. Project appraisal is a requirement before funding of programs is done, but tackling problems like those outlined about the more that is getting the system right on paper. Experience in projects emphasizes the importance of developing an appraisal culture which involves developing the right system for local circumstances, ensuring that everybody involved recognize the value of project appraisal and has the knowledge and skills necessary to play their part. Project appraisal helps to deliver project appraisal indicators and designed to consistent and objective in choosing projects. Make sure that the program benefits all sections of the community, including those from ethnic groups who have been left out in the past. Provide documentations to meet financial and audit requirements and to explain decisions to local people. Appraisal justified spending money in a project. Appraisal asks fundamental questions about whether funding is required and whether a project offers good values for money. It can give confidence that public money is being put to good use and help identity other fundings to support a project. Getting it right may help a community make its resources to go further in meeting local need. Appraisal is an important decision making tool. Appraisal involves the comprehensive analysis and a wide range of data, judgment and assumptions, all of which need adequate evidence. This helps ensure about project selected for funding will help a partnership achieve its objectives for its area, are deliberate, involve local people and take proper account of the needs of people from ethnic minorities and other minority groups, all sustainable, have sensible ways of managing risk. Appraisal lays the foundation for delivery. Appraisal helps ensure their projects will be properly managed by ensuring appropriate financial and monitoring systems are in place, that there are continuity plans to deal with the risk and setting milestone against which progress can be judged. Getting the system right. The process of project development, appraisal and delivery is complex and partnership needs systems which suit local circumstances and organization. Good appraisal systems should ensure that the project application, appraisal and approval functions are separate. All the necessary information is gathered for appraisal, often as part of project development in which projects will need support, race, tribal equality and other equality issues are given proper consideration. Those involved in appraisal have an appropriate information and training and make appropriate use of technical and other expertise. There are realistic allowances for time involved in project development and appraisal. Decisions are within a implementation power. There are appropriate arrangements for very small projects. There are appropriate arrangements for dealing with novel contingents and particularly risky projects. Appraising a project. Key issues in appraising projects include the following: need, targeting and objectives. The starting point for appraisal applications should provide a detailed description of the project, identifying the local need it aims to meet. Appraisal helps shows the project is the right or responsible and highlight what are the project is supposed to do and when for whom, context and connections. Appraisal should help show that a project is consistent with the objectives and the relevant funding program and with the aims of the local partnership, and the links with the project and other local programs and projects. Does it add something or complete? Consultation. Local consultation may help determine programs priorities and secure community consent and ownership. More target consultation with potential project users may help ensure that project plans are viable. A key question in appraisal will be whether there has been appropriate consultation and how it has shaped the project. Options. Options analysis is concerned with establishing whether there are different ways of achieving objectives. This is a particularly complex part of project appraisal and one whether guidance varies. It is vital through to review different ways of meeting local need and key objectives inputs. It is important to ensure that the all necessary people and resources are in place to deliver the project. This may mean thinking about the finding from various sources and other inputs such as volunteers, help or promises. Appraisal should include the examination of appropriate detailed in budget, outputs and outcomes. Detailed consideration must be given in appraisal to what a project does and achieves, its outputs and more importantly, its longer term outcomes. Benefits in neighborhoods and their residents are reflected in the improved quality of life outcomes, jobs, better housing, safety, health and so on. An appraisal consider if they are realistic, but projects are produce outputs and we need a more realistic view of output forecast than in the past. Value for money. There is one of the key criteria against which projects are appraised. A major concern for government. It is also important for local partnership and it may be necessary to take local factors which may affect cost into account. Implementation. Appraisal will need to scrutinize the practical plans for delivery, the project asking whether staffing with adequate time bound for the work is realistic one and the organization delivering the project seems capable of doing so. Risk and uncertainty. You cannot avoid risk, but you need to make sure you identify risk. Is there a risk? And if so, what is it? Estimates the scale of risk. If there is a risk, it is a big one. Or evaluate the risk. How much does the risk matters on the project? There should also be continuity and contingent plan in place to minimize the risk of projects failure for major gap between what is promised and what is delivered. Forward strategy. The appraisal of forward strategies can be particularly difficult. Inevitable uncertainties about their projects will develop, but it is necessary to soon to start thinking about whether a project should have a fixed lifespan or it is continued beyond or a period of regeneration funding. What support is well to be done. There is often thought that in terms of other funding with an increasing emphasis on mainstream services in neighborhood renewal appraisal should also consider mainstream links and implications from the first. Sustainability. In regeneration, sustainability has often been taken about there simply in terms of whether a project can be sustained once regeneration funding stops. But sustainability has a wider meaning and under this heading appraisal should include an assessment of a project, environmental, social and economic impacts, its positive and negative effects. While appraisal will focus detailed attention on each of these areas, none of them can be considered in isolation. Some of them must be clearly linked. For example, a realistic assessment of outputs may be essential to a calculation of values for money. No project will score highly against all these tests and considerations. The final judgment must depend on a balanced consideration of all these important factors. Checklist for project appraisal. Whether one is involved in a partnership with an appraisal system in place or starting to design one from scratch, these questions are worth asking. Are appraisals systematic and disciplined with a clear sequence of activities and operating rules? Is there an independent assessment of the project by someone who does not involved with the development of the project? Does the appraisal process culminate in clear recommendation that inform approval for rejection of the project? Is the approval stage clearly separate? Is the appraisal process well documented with key documents signed showing ownership and agreement and allowing the appraisal documentation to act as a basis for future management, monitoring and evaluation. Does the appraisal system comply with any relevant government guidelines and the right people involved at various stages of the process, and if necessary, how can you widen involvement? Distinguishing between monitoring and evaluation, parameters of monitoring and evaluation, timing of monitoring and evaluation are explained in this design. While designing these things, one has to take the following thing in action. The notion of social appraisal emphasizes the importance of a social dimension in appraisal theories of emotion by proposing that the way an individual appraises an event is influenced by the way other individuals appraise and feel about the same event. It is to provide an action plans for addressing the problem through implementing the solution of the social program. In the context, project appraisal helps in the management of social program to serve as the major process of analyzing and approving the project. Appraisal is the evaluation of the overall ability of the feasibility project to succeed, which is known as the vital for the success of any social program and keep checks and balance for the intervention by various communities. This deals with three important components of project appraisal: project monitoring and project evaluation.